This interview is of William Arthur Adams, born September 18th, 1921. He served in the Army as a sergeant. We are in Greenwood, Indiana. My name is Kim Adams, and I'm his granddaughter. This is being conducted for the Veterans History Project for the Library of Congress.
Okay. I was coming back from Cincinnati with my buddy, and all of a sudden it came on the radio that Pearl Harbor is under attack by the Japanese, and we asked one there, where's Pearl Harbor? And so we got back to Indianapolis. We got a paper, and we seen that Pearl Harbor was in Hawaii. And so the next day, I went to work, and that was 1941, and we were all called up. I worked at Bemis Bag, and we were all called up in the cafeteria to hear Roosevelt declare war on Japan. And then later on, I got a greeting letter from Uncle Sam. Did my physical, and then I went to Fort Harrison. I did my basic training, and then I went from Fort Harrison to Breckenridge, Kentucky, and I was in the quartermaster there. Then I was a 1A man and a 1B outfit, and so they transferred me into the 99th Division, and I took infantry training there, and then I went from there to the 38th Division, 149th G Company, and I took more training there, and we got our duffel bags, stood out in front of the train to board it. It was going to Europe, and all of a sudden they called us back in to our camp, which was in Louisiana, Camp Van Dorn, Louisiana.
No.
And
Livingston.
And then we went into Japanese training, and then we left and went to New Orleans aboard the ship, the Monterey, and we went from there to Hawaii, and we were on beach positions there in Hawaii for a while and did jungle training, and then we loaded down another ship, which was the Monterey, and went to Hollandia, New Guinea. But before we got there, the ship hit a reef and was laying sideways in the water, and we transferred over to other ships, and we landed there in Oro Bay, New Guinea, and we did patrols there and unloaded ships. Then we went from there on Thanksgiving Day on another ship and to Hollandia, New Guinea, when they formed a big convoy. Then Tokyo Rose says that we'd never meet our destination, and we all laughed at her, but because she was always saying something. But anyway, we got about a day or two out from Leyte, and kamikaze planes hit us, and some of the ships were damaged pretty bad, but we managed to get to shore, and we did combat duty there, and it rained all the time we was there and wet, and then we boarded another ship, which was a Navy attack ship, and we made a beachhead close to Bataan, supposedly to relieve prisoners, and the Japs had already moved them. And then we went across the mountain and Zigzag Pass, which we had Japs all around us. And then our 151st hit the Japs from one side, and we were in the middle, and we hit them from the other. And I was assigned to knock out tanks, and I took 4 men and myself, and we had nothing but rifle grenades and tank grenades to knock out the tanks, and we started to work. I had my men working on this one tank, and he fired 37s, and all of a sudden I was hitting the left arm and tore it up a little bit, and then I went from there backtracked to Hollandia, New Guinea, a hospital there, and then they fixed me up, and I boarded the ship, and we came back to the United States. But on the way back, we got word that Roosevelt had died, and so we were pretty upset about that. And we finally got under the Golden Gate Bridge and landed in Frisco, and we went to the Leatherman General Hospital, and I left there and went to the hospital there in Memphis, and then I left Memphis hospital, and we came to a hospital, a convalescent hospital in Atterbury, and I took convalescent there, and I came. They give me a pass to go home, and so I went out to the main gate, and the MP said I wasn't in uniform, and I said, well, I am. And he said, no. He said, you haven't got your ribbons on and all. And so I argued with him, and it didn't work. And a lieutenant come out there in a Jeep and wanted to know what the trouble was. And he said, well, he took me back, and he pinned my medals back on me. And we went back out the gate, and he let me out. And I caught a ride to Indianapolis, and that was my first time home in about 3 or 4 years. And so that was it. Everybody greeted me, and I had to go back to camp for convalescent, and then finally I got discharged October the 6th, 1945, and came home. Well, I was married and came home for good.
How is adapting to like the life out there?
I've had no problem adapting, because I've been in the CCs, and I was used to military life.
Did you form a lot of friendships?
No, you never got too friendly with anybody, because you never know when he was going to be gone, deceased.
How'd you readjust to life back here for being gone for so long?
I had no problem, but I came back and went back to work at my job at Bemis Bag. And I had no problems.
How did being in the war affect your life? How did being in the war affect your life?
No, it didn't affect my life because I used to being a loner, and like I said, I've been in the CCs, which is sort of military, and I had no trouble adapting. On a furlough once, and boy, it was just like nothing. All the guys were in service and fence factories, and it was. It wasn't too much fun to be home when everybody's gone. So I used to give when I was down at Alexander, Louisiana, guys would want to come home and get married or something like that. Why, I would give my turn for furlough to them, and I would take their turn. And I kept doing that until almost the time I was ready to go overseas. But I come home and everything was rationed. Everybody was driving 40 miles an hour. That was the speed limit. You couldn't buy tires yet. You was rationed on gas and food, different foods. So it was. These people had it rough as we did.
So how'd you communicate with the people back at home? How'd you communicate with the people back at home?
Oh, I did all right. I mean, everybody, like I went once to get a stamp for gas and, food and all, and this guy gave me a stamp for just a little bit of gas, and this big fella told me, he says, I want to see you out the side. So I've seen him. He said, if you need any gas, come down here. He said, I'll fix you up. So, of course, it wasn't legal, but I went down there once and got gas. I used my old Chevrolet and run around in it, but like I say, I just visited the relation and then went back to camp. But of course, I used to come over and see my girlfriend, which I asked her to marry me, and we got engaged, and so on my last furlough, her and her foster mother took me back to the depot downtown in Indianapolis. I boarded the train, and all of a sudden we had a layover in Little Rock, Arkansas, and that was an all-day layover. And I never got back to Camp Livingston until about 12 o'clock that night. Finally, they got a train in there to take us to Camp Livingston. So, and then I was glad to get back because laying around in a Little Rock train depot wasn't no fun because you're afraid to leave it on account of a train might come in, pick you up. So we sweated that out and got back to camp. What training again? And that's all we did. We trained.
Did you have friends in there with you? Did you have friends that were in service with you?
Friendship was
in the service?
Well, I never what you call made real close friends because I never drank, and a lot of the guys they drank, but I didn't. But one Christmas, my sergeant, he come in Christmas Eve, come into barracks. Of course, barracks has a hut, 6-man hut is what it was. He come in there and he says, Adams, he says, come on and celebrate Christmas with me. I said, well, I'm celebrating it. And he said, no, he says, have a drink with me. And so, of course, it's dark in there, and so he got my mess kit cup and canteen cup, and he said, here, drink this. And I took a drink of it, and I thought I was on fire. It took me an hour to get my breath, and he liked to laugh himself silly. And then he left, and I went back to bed. Because I didn't go into town. There wasn't nothing to do in town. There's too many. It was just like, town was just like being in a camp. All the soldiers running around that little town of Alexander. So I just stayed around camp. Hawaii, my captain come in and the first sergeant, and he says, Adams, I got something for you. He says, you don't deserve it, but we're going to give it to you anyway. So I got a good conduct medal, and he laughed about it. And then I made PFC. And then right after that, I made, I guess a month after that, I was made corporal. And then right after that, I made buck sergeant. And that's what we came out with. But over there in Hawaii, we did beach positions. We had to spot everything out in the water with telescopes and report it to Pearl Harbor. And things were rough because the Japs were coming in there in many subs and rubber rafts. But the beach position took care of them, and we had to watch it night and day. And we was on beach position outpost, 149th, and we get a pass to go into town, and I was walking by Schofield, and a big pineapple field there, and this soldier comes from Schofield in a taxi, and he stopped and picked me up, and I look up, and that was the time I seen 2 planes crash together, 2 cargo ship planes, and that was pretty rough to see, but things were pretty rough around Pearl. They were cleaning up and all that, trying to clean up when we were over there. But we did mostly jungle training and beach position when we was there. Then we got on the ship and left Hawaii and never did come back.
When did you receive your Purple Heart?
When did I receive my Purple Heart? I was on Hollandia, New Guinea. No, wait a minute. No, I wasn't. No, I was in Leyte, the evacuation station there, and I had a conscientious objector give me my Purple Heart, which his name was Lou Ayres, and they gave me my Purple Heart while they was patching me up there. Now, they patched me up there on Leyte, and then we got on the ship Comfort, and went to Hollandia, New Guinea, and then they finished patching me up there. We were gathered around, and the sergeant was giving us lectures, and this sailor would come walking up, and the guy said, "Hey, there's a sailor there, and he's going towards that your office," and pretty soon this first sergeant come out with him, and it said Adams, and I looked up at this sailor, and I said, "Oh man, Bud Bowers," and he's my cousin, and he was over there. He was in the Seabees, and he came, found out, I guess, from my grandmother that I was over there, and we went on into town, ate and monkeyed around, and then we came back to camp. I came back to camp. He went there. That was the last time I seen him, because after that, well, we left Hawaii to go to New Guinea. But everything was Hawaii is nice. Of course, over there in Hawaii, Waikiki Beach. That's we started taking down barbed wire over there, and so they said, "Oh, you can swim out there, man." That's I didn't think much of Waikiki Beach, but anyway, then we did duties like that, but we first got over there. We started pineapple juice, small cans of pineapple juice. We drank them, and then Dole Plant. They had fountains in that. One of them was water, and the other one was pineapple juice, and you could take a drink out of either one of them you wanted. But things were nice there in Hawaii as far as living there, but the people had a little rough there for a while because the Japs tore up some stuff there. But we never, our company never was at Schofield, but the 151st was. But we stayed on beach position and lookout, and swam in the ocean there. But other than that, why, we didn't mind. G-Comp didn't mind it because we were busy all the time. I don't know. There in Leyte, well, we were supposed to go inland pretty fast, and this Hawaiian girl grabbed me around the neck, and here I got 80-some pounds on my back, and I said, let go. I said, what are you doing out here? You'll get hit. And she said, I said, we got to go inland fast. And she said, no, the Japs already moved the prisoners out of there. And so we went up into what was the prison camp, and it was empty, and there wasn't a Jap around there. And so then we started up over the mountain, went down into Zigzag Pass, and then we had Japs all around us. In fact, one time, the railroads there are narrow gauge tracks, and this we heard this rumbling noise, and all of a sudden we seen this, we call them sugar cane car coming down the track there, and the Japs had, I guess they were in there and had guns in there, and so before they got to us, well, we had already cut the tracks in two, and needless to say, that was the end of them, and they didn't try that stuff anymore. That's when I got hit. Why, this one boy, Reardon, he came up there and he'd seen blood all over the front of me, and he says, well, you're hit in the stomach. I said, no, I'm not. And so, of course, we fought in fatigues. And so he looked, he had to look. And I told him, I said, no, I said, I got an artery in too. And so I said, I got to get around and get a bandage on it, or you put a pressure bandage on it. And he didn't want nothing to do with it. He said there's a medics around the bend there, and we had to duck around the tank up on the road shooting down this draw, and we had to duck in and out, and we finally got around to him, and he put a pressure bandage on it and asked me if I'd go back to the aid station, and I said sure, and I took one step and fell flat on my face, and I didn't remember anything after that until they got me where the down. They give me plasma, and that wasn't nothing. But anyway, I was got on an ox cart, and we went about 2 miles down the road to where they operated on guys. And went in there, and the doctor looked at it, and he said, man, he said, I'm wore out. He says, and it's getting late, and he says, I've been at it all day, and he says, I got to have some rest. He says, you'll keep till morning. And so he says, I'll have to take that arm off. And I said, whoa. I said, go ahead and take your rest. And so he had 2 medics give me blood, and man, that was like new life. So I felt pretty good. And the next morning, I laying there and then cotton picking green flies. I was trying to shoo them off of it, and somehow this ambulance driver got through from Manila and in an ambulance, but it was all shot up, and he never did get hit. And he come in that bamboo thicket where we was, the camp was, and he seen me, and he took a banana leaf and started shooing them green flies off of me. I said, man, I said, you're an angel from heaven. And so then they was trying to level off and take the walls out of the dried up rice paddies. And finally a Luzon plane landed in there, and a medic officer come in there, he's a colonel, and I was the first man in line, and he looked at my arm and went, shoo, and he says, get this man on that plane and get him out of here. And he said, he's getting blood poisoning. And so I said, well, I can walk to the plane. No, you can't. So they put me on a stretcher there, and I couldn't sit up in the plane. I had to lay there. And he flew us out to a big plane. And the big plane, all we did, it was a cargo plane, and all you did, you either laid on a stretcher or sat, if you can sit up. And so I told him I could sit up, and so I got aboard it, and the plane took off, and he was right at the ocean shoreline, and that thing was just bump, 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 and we said, hey, you take that thing overland, more overland, or out over the ocean. He said, well, I can't take it over land. He said, I get shot down. So he took it out over the ocean, and then we went back to Leyte, and then got aboard the, went to the hospital there. Of course, I already told you that. And I needed a haircut and a shave, and they sent a guy in there to the cot I was on, and he poked on me. He says, say something so I can see that you're a human being. And he gave me a haircut and shave, and then they kept coming in there shooting me with a penicillin. It seemed like every hour where they shoot penicillin to you. And the first time the guy come in there, he woke me up, and I said, don't wake me up. I said, just give me a shot. He said, I have to. He says, you jerk, you might break the needle. So and needless to say, well, about every hour you was woke up to get a shot. But we finally got out of there. That's when I got, well, right there is where I got my Purple Heart. They come in with it. Lou Ayres did. That's.
All right. Well, thank you for your story, and thank you for serving our country.
Huh?
So thank you for your story, and thank you for serving our country.
Okay.